Parker, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
Well, I have to tell you how insanely jealous I am of you because I'm a nerd about Pat McAfee, and I know that you were on the Pat McAfee show. So I want to know, as somebody who will never get a chance to experience my favorite human being, what was that like?
Not with that attitude. No, it's kind of wild how Pat and I met, and we talk pretty often now. He's a big FaceTime guy. I feel like he's always FaceTiming me, which is, you kind of feel like you're flexing or something, when people are around and you don't want to not answer. You have to answer the FaceTime, and everybody's like, "Are you FaceTiming Pat McAfee right now?" And I'm like,
but does
yeah.
part of you still go, couldn't you have just texted me this? Like, you're just awkwardly.
I'm not a big FaceTime guy. I never FaceTime. He loves it. But he's such a good guy and has built an incredible audience and an incredible brand there at the Pat McAfee show. But getting to be on the show, I was like, man, I write sad country love songs. I don't know what anybody watching this show is going to care about my sad love songs. So, but it's a great opportunity, and I texted him afterwards. I said, massive opportunity for me to get on that show and have that platform for. So it was cool.
You've also built like a huge brand for yourself, like what you just said about him. Like, I remember it was 2016 and I connected with a friend. Our friendship was kind of based on music, and she sent me Pretty Heart. And I was 2016 or 2017, like way back. And I was like, this is such a good song. And I feel like since then you've just kind of like kept making your way and putting out amazing music.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Some days I feel like I've got it so dialed in and I'm doing exactly what I want to do and I'm right where I want to be. And then some days I could not feel more opposite. It's kind of wild, doing it on such a big stage nowadays, and you got so many people, so many eyeballs on you. And it's just, when you started, it was so, you're just in a pickup truck and then it got a van and had a trailer and you didn't really play for anybody, and then nowadays, it's wild to walk out there every night and see what our life has become. And we worked really hard for it. So it tastes really good. It's really, really, I sleep really good at night, and we did it the hard way and really busted our butts and did it the right way, in my opinion. But it's a lot to balance. And, I'm the CEO of a very large company, and I'm the CEO who also has to, go to these places to write these songs. So there's probably not a ton of CEOs who are running their business like I.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, and you want to, you got to recognize that, and I think it took me a long time to realize that, every single phase of what I do for a living starts with me. I think there's so many artists all the time, my record label this, or my managing label, my management did this or that or whatever, or maybe what they didn't do. And I just refuse to let myself think or even be in that situation, and try to, lead the way. And it starts with me. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it's really cliche for a reason, because that's really how it could be.
Do you think there would be more or less pressure on you if you achieved your little kid goal of being governor of Texas?
I don't know if that was actually a goal or if I just liked the way that sounded when I was a kid. Nowadays, it sounds like the worst job in the world.
Yeah.
So I don't know if politics or my granddad was in politics. My uncle's on, city council. I think he's going to run for mayor this year in my hometown. My granddad was judge when he was like 23.
Oh, cool.
So there's a little bit of history there, and he would have been governor 100%. He absolutely was on his way to do it, but so I think that's kind of where it stemmed from. But no governor for me.
Does anyone in your family play music? Like, where did you get that from?
The only person is my older brother. He was writing songs and trying to play guitar and do all that at a really young age. He's 6 years older than me. So I was 6 years younger than him, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. And I was listening to the greatest songwriters in the history of country music and Americana folk music. So I was really young and exposed to it. And not only was I exposed to it, but I loved it and identified with it. And something about songs in general just control every aspect of my mind. I crave it. And so it's kind of like it was meant to be, but he's the only one that's musically anything.
As a younger brother, I know anytime I'm better than my older brother at anything, he gets pissed off. So your older brother must be pissed. He's like, I was the singer song. What's going on here?
No, I don't know. He put a record out a few years ago that's really good. He's a great songwriter. He's a much better songwriter than I am. But he just didn't pursue it like I did or like I wanted to. I mean, I wanted to do it. I wanted to be on the road and have tour buses and 18-wheelers and a band and a crew and all that, and number one and platinum records. I thought about all that stuff. So
you guys ever like write songs and show them to your family and then be like, which one's better? Tell us which one's better.
No, we kind of hold them pretty close to the vest. I mean, I send him stuff or he'll send me stuff. He'll be like, hey, here's something I wrote, mess around with it if you want to. Rarely do we actually do it. We used to write a ton when we were younger. Wrote a few songs on my first record, and it's he's such a good songwriter. I'm kind of shocked he doesn't sit around all day trying to write songs for me to go try to have number ones. But I think he's a little hard-headed in that sense, and he still is just writing songs the right way. So
being so into the songwriting part of this whole business, let's go to Never Enough. And it's kind of like your kids. It's hard to choose a favorite. But what is the song where you, songwriter-wise, feel like you were most locked in? You're like, that for me feels like
the best song I've written.
That for me is like a masterpiece in songwriting.
I don't think I've written anything that comes to mind right away when I think of that. There's a couple moments I've had, and you usually know right away, instantaneously from starting the song, if it's something special. And there's only been a couple of those for me.
What were they?
One was Rest of My Life. I knew that song was really good. And it just, some days it just falls out like that's very rare, but sometimes it does. And then kind of on the other side of the coin, more, I never think about hits. But when we wrote Handle on You, that's the first time I was ever like, all right, that's a hit song. Like I just thought it was so good and a really good country song. But I don't think it's an incredibly intricate, life-changing, save your life song, which I think Rest of My Life kind of is more in that vein. So I tried just to write songs and not think about it, but obviously I think about it a lot.
I always look into the name of an album, and sometimes it's just the title of a track on the album. Sometimes it's a tour name, but for some reason, in just knowing a little bit about you, it feels like Never Enough has a deeper meaning.
I think the best way I can describe it is I just know a little bit about life now. You just by naturally, everybody, you get older, right? You make mistakes and you learn, you grow up a little bit. And so I think I just approach it with a little more perspective and kind of some lessons under my belt and a little bit of knowledge. Whereas, my earlier stuff, I didn't know anything. I was just living. I didn't know jack. And just literally just existing and writing songs. And I think you're just a little more intentional the older you get. And so I think that, songwriting is probably one thing that would have influenced a ton.
When you obviously you've had your album in your hands for a long time, longer than any of us have, but do you have a place when you have a new cut of a song or final version of a song that you're going to listen to it and be able to hear it the best? If for example, I like hearing a new song in my car.
Not really. It just hits you when it hits you. It's it's kind of funny, how much control melodies and songs have over my mind, and just how, like, I'll just geek out on a song and listen to it over. And I've been that way since I was a little kid, since I was a small 5, 6, 7-year-old child. Was just so addicted to melodies and lyrics, and so it just, sometimes it's just right. You know what I mean? And that's how it works. I mean, you can't force it. You can't. And you know, it's kind of the same concept as when you hear somebody live sing a song, within like 3 seconds, you either buy it or you don't. You either believe this or you don't. And so, like, those songs hit you, it's kind of the same concept. Like, you know, I mean, and you know, it's just like everybody else. Sometimes somebody put out a record and you're like, okay. But then 4 months later, you listen to it and you're like, amazing. It's just timing.
Can you bring me back to younger you who, I mean, you said from early on you were obsessed. Give me one of the first memories you have of being just literally obsessed with a song.
I think I put it out on a little 4-song thing I put out when I was like 20 years old called A Red Town View. And it's not on any streaming services anymore. I don't know why. But I think you can find it on SoundCloud. But I wrote it, and my brother was in college at the time, you know, and he'd come home for holidays or whatever, and I'd always want to have written something that would make him think that I was good, because I really hadn't to that point. I could sing and play a little bit, you know, but as far as writing, I was writing pretty juvenile stuff, and he came home, and I played him this song, Permanent Headphones, I had written, and that was the first time. I can remember it like it was yesterday. He said, "You're going to do this, and you're going to be huge." He's like, "That is."
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's one of my favorite. I think it's probably one of the best songs I've ever written lyrically. But I mean, it sounds just like, you know, everything else on my early records. So that was really kind of the start of something that I had no idea. I wrote that song in a Jack in the Box parking lot on the center console of my truck.
That's funny.
Well, you mentioned the feeling that we get when we see somebody live. We get to see you this summer at Big Valley Jamboree at the kickoff party. Give us, for those of us that have never seen a Parker McCollum show, what are we expecting that night? It's a party atmosphere. Are we expecting a big party on stage?
Oh, yeah. We come out swinging, man. It's, you know, you listen to the record and you come to the live show, and it's a whole nother ball game.
That's awesome. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you, and thank you so much for giving us some of your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
They had a Pat for me.
I'll do it. I'll tell him you said hello.